All right, so young Maxwell has opted today to begin with a song called Shining Star, and we have a JJ interview coming up shortly. You can fire it up right now. Shining Star, Justin Jefferson. Had a chance to chat with him yesterday, and yours truly, Paul Allen, from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center for minicamp day number 2. We'll have the fill-in producer, young Maxwell Fuller, fire that bad boy off about 4 minutes from now. And Maxwell, hooty hoo from TCOPC.
Hooty hoo right back to you, my man, PA.
Your hooty hoo is lacking. What the hell? Hootie, what?
I've hootied myself a little hoarse. Hold on. Hootie.
That's my man right there. That's my man right there. Thank you very much for helping today. And Max, I think well, hopefully you enjoy the radio show today, which includes a one-on-one with Justin Jefferson coming up shortly. Yeah. Some thoughts on minicamp day 1 from Kevin O'Connell. Mike Florio from ProFootballTalk.com about 40 minutes from now. YA Radio at about 10. Ahmad Hicks from Fox 9 about 10:45. Keenan McCardell, wide receivers coach for the Minnesota Vikings, will stop by the TCO radio studio a couple of hours from now, about 11:20. Chat about JJ and Jordan Addison and Thayer Thomas and Sam Darnold and Aaron Jones and some things like that. So that's going to be cool about 11:15. And the final segment of the radio show will give us a little preview of the Stanley Cup final between the Florida Panthers and New York. And all right, 3-2, Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers with the best in the business, Russo Radio, Michael Russo. But tomorrow at 9 a.m., Finchy is in studio. I will be back at FM 100.3 KFAN. So we're going to have Finchy in studio at 9 tomorrow. And Maxwell, the rumor has it, you're looking for an autograph and a selfie with Finchy. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, for sure. I'm going to be shameless about it. I'm going to dap him up. I'm going to say I've never doubted him. I'm gonna ask for a selfie. I'm gonna say that he complimented my afro, and it's gonna go viral on Twitter.
Do percent chance? Let's go 1% to 99%. Percent chance you can get the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow to give you a hooty hoo.
I think I could get him to do it. Finchy seems like he's down with it. You know, he's got some bit to him. I think I could get him to do it. And he wouldn't know the difference. I'll just say, like, you know, it's been a rallying cry for Timberwolves fans for the whole season, and he won't know the difference if it is or not. So he'll just probably do it because he's down. He's down.
What about media relations mogul and his right-hand man, Aaron Freeman? Do you think you can get Freeman to give us a good hooty hoo? Because those media seats that young Aaron Freeman and Miss Sarah Perez, who runs their media relations department,
the best. Those
seats that they were giving you and Parker, you should be giving them like $100 hoo. Know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I might when I put my hands up to my mouth for the hootie hoo, I might pull a $100 bill out the back of the fro. And
yeah, they do a good job over there, man.
Quick. They're the best, man.
Yep, they do a good job over there, and you know, probably felt some pain when it ended for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's generally how it works when you advance that far. But got an opportunity to work with not only KFAN, but many media constituents really around the world because this team was so good and advanced so far. So that was a wonderful experience, and it's great working with them. And let me ask you a serious question before we get into JJ. And I haven't looked at the salary portion of the equation here, which is kind of mandatory, but I was just thinking a little bit. Do you think the Cleveland Cavaliers would take Jaden McDaniels for Darius Garland? And the reason I bring it up is Garland's in a weird spot there with Donovan Mitchell, and they got to figure him out. And with the way they use Max Strus, and they like their bigs with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. So like Jaden McDaniels, man, I mean, ain't nobody trying to run him out of town. We're just trying to make our favorite team better. And Conley rocks, man. But I mean, you talk about a floor general, but at 37, next season. I mean, we have to be in the market for a point guard, don't we?
Yeah, I would say so. I think from what I've looked up on the salary portion of it, Cleveland would have to take on, like, the Wolves don't have any room to take on any extra value, any extra assets. So Cleveland would have to take, any team pretty much would have to take on the burden of the trade. I wouldn't say that Darius Garland for Jaden McDaniels makes us better, though. I really like Darius Garland, and he is a low-key point guard target for this team, I believe. Especially considering that Cleveland's situation is kind of tumultuous right now. They don't even know who their head coach is going to be. They don't know if Donovan Mitchell's coming back to town or not. And yeah, it would be. I love Mike Conley. He's the emotional, kind of mature leader of this team. But
he's the bomb.
Yeah, he's the best. And I don't think he's the kind of guy he would not mind coming off of the bench if he knew it was best for this team. They need a better scoring threat offensively for point guard. I just don't know if trading Jaden McDaniels, one of our best wing defenders, would do it. If we were going to trade somebody, it makes more sense. And I'm not trying to run anybody out of town, and I don't even think they should necessarily trade him, but it makes way more sense to trade Karl Anthony Towns in any type of situation like that.
Well, if we get together, at any time during the 9 to noon equation in June or July, we could talk that thing out a little bit because, to take the word trade, and according to all involved here, Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, and with no refuting from abroad, trading Justin Jefferson never was in the plans. He's signed, sealed, and delivered, and he's yours. Yesterday, he was all mine after practice, and here's what it sounded like. Hello, Justin.
How you doing, man?
Good to see you, and congratulations on that deal, man. So, hey, you really at one point were slow, non-explosive, and skinny?
Yes, I was. I mean, those high school days, middle school days, just me trying to get to this point that I am now, it never was always, an eye-opener. You know what I'm saying? It never was always a specific thing that I knew that I was going to get to this level. So just the hard work that I put in, the dedication, and, of course, the people that surrounded me definitely helped me throughout the way.
So obviously to go to LSU, you weren't slow and you weren't necessarily skinny and you were explosive. When you got there with Jamar and maybe even Terrace, like how did that elevate your game?
It elevated my game tremendously. Just having two people that are great at their craft as well to come in and give me a little bit of challenge. It definitely was great for me. We always had that competitive spirit. Every single time we were in practice or in the game, we're trying to outdo one another or trying to compete against one another, even though we're on the same team. So just having that competitive spirit the whole time that I'm at LSU, trying to get better at my craft, it helped out a lot.
Well, and I shouldn't have to say this, but, athletes don't necessarily treat tricky situations the way you did. So well done with not unfollowing teams, not with this cryptic crap and saying things like any day now or something like that. That's naturally who you are, right? To be humble that way.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I grew up that way. I grew up with parents that taught me to be humble and be grateful for what I have. Like I said in the press conference, I knew the deal was going to come. It was just a matter of time. So it's just all about being patient, just being behind closed doors, getting in that work. You don't have to say everything online to social media and for everybody to know. It's just more about the people that's in the building and that's in the talk. So as long as I'm sharing what my thoughts to the people that are engaged in the contract and everything, it's not reasonable for me to be posting on social media and pretty much letting everybody know what's going on.
Justin Jefferson's our guest to kick off 9 to noon. Maybe for my personal knowledge, but I think some others would like to know too. Along the way, along your journey, who or where did the doubters come from?
Where didn't they come from is the question. I mean, ever since I was in high school, I never was the highest recruited. Even going into college, still not, the first one to be looked at. Even my junior year, not being a finalist for Balint-Lakoff and, just different awards that I was short on. But even to being drafted as the fifth fifth receiver. You know, my whole career has just always been doubted and overlooked. So, you know, just with this contract and just with going forward, definitely looking to uplift this team, trying to get to, you know, where we want to go. And, of course, we want to hold up that trophy.
And Justin, moving forward, undoubtedly, whether it's minicamp today or minicamp tomorrow or training camp, you'll do markedly more. And, you know, you'll be with Sam and eventually maybe JJ, who knows. But like with Darnold, you know, I just don't think offensive players are spending a lot of time watching all 22 of other offensive players who are backups. So now that you've seen him throw the ball, what do you think?
Oh, I like it. I mean, he's been impressing me for sure. And I'm excited to see what we have for the rest of the camp, the mandatory camp, and then into training camp. But just like I told Coach and everybody else, I'm going to be hard on everyone. I'm trying to get the best out of everyone. And in order for that, you got to have your best player, you know, talking and being that leader. So I'm always going to be here to help, you know, even JJ on whatever he needs. Of course, I had Adam to you know, be under my wing and to really cater to me. So I'm going to be that same type of person to JJ, and I'm just trying to help as much as possible.
When you get a contract like you just got and we're getting closer to the season, do you anticipate that you'll put any added pressure on yourself because of that? Because personally speaking, I think it would be foolish to do it because you earned it, and the next one you get might be double that because you'll earn that. But have you thought about that, or have your parents talked to you about that? You don't need to put extra pressure on yourself?
Nah. I mean, I kind of feel like they already know the type of pressure I put on myself. Not really as a pressure, but I have an expectation. You know, just goals that I want to achieve for myself, and just the expectations for this team. You know, the leader that I am, I'm trying to lead this team to where we didn't imagine to go. So it's going to be a start of it, but it's definitely some more work to put in.
Kevin O'Connell, as the head coach, and his approach to offense, I mean, he'd throw it 80% of the time if they let him, you know, and that obviously benefits you. But what do you like about Kevin? And now that everything's done, what excites you about playing in this offense?
Oh, I love Kevin. Just his ability to really connect with his players. I mean, even during this whole process, him reaching out to me, making sure that I'm okay, just trying to talk to me and just making sure that he's on my side and that he's trying to, you know, get me that deal. So he's a great coach. He's definitely one of my favorite ones that I've ever had. But I've been telling them ever since this contract has been agreed on, you know, we still have work to do. This is still not a comfort zone for me. This is still more things that I want to overcome and do for myself. So in order to do that, I need to help this team out and get to where we need to go.
I got to ask you this. Like, I've called a bunch of Aaron Jones games, okay, and he's in full armor, all right? So, and you've seen him on TV or played against him. Watching OTAs or watching minicamp without shoulder pads and everything, holy cow, I had no idea how fast he was. Did you?
I mean, I've been seeing it on the sideline, so I definitely can see. I mean, his explosion, his ability to move freely behind the backfield and find that hole and hit it. So I've been talking to him ever since I got here. I'm excited. I'm excited to have him on the squad. He's going to be a tremendous big piece for us to open up our pass game. So being able to run the ball with him and being able to open it up with the pass game is going to be smooth.
You're fantastic. Congratulations, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Man, my question is, what you going to do about the JJ situation? Because you can't call both of us JJ.
Well, when he plays, okay, when he plays, I don't know what my life's going to look like Friday, so I don't exactly know when this is going to be, but how about JJ to JJ for the payday?
Okay, I like.
You don't like? No, you don't like it.
That one. I like that one. I like that one. I like that one.
You looked at me like I was one of those 4 quarterbacks last year. I mean, that was a weird look you gave me.
No, I had to process it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, hey, you can make the call. I mean, like, you can come up with the idea. We got plenty of time. I mean, we got plenty of time. But think of it, and I'll do it. Okay?
I'm gonna think of it.
Well, that little JJ to JJ for the payday is going to cost you $1,000. You want to pay now or some other time?
Some other time.
I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I tried to get 1,000 for you, Max, from Justin Jefferson, and it didn't work, man. And he doesn't like JJ to JJ for the payday. What am I going to do?
You're gonna have to go back to the lab, PA, and cook up something else. You gotta get a new recipe and chef up something else. But you're the master chef, so I believe in you.
JJ Jets has taken off. Seatbelts, please. And this is 9 to noon. Courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes Kevin O'Connell's thoughts on minicamp day 1 around the corner. Max produces. And I'm Paul Allen. This is KFAN. Maxwell Fuller produces, and I'm Paul Allen. It is 9:20 in the neighborhood being Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. Kevin O'Connell had some thoughts on minicamp day 1, and here they are.
Good to see everybody out here. Mandatory, mini camp. Just the way we run our off-season programs, it's just another week for us. Just so happens that the rules change a little bit. We can have a little bit more meetings, especially post-practice. Ends up being an important time to really take a look at kind of our roster as a whole right now going into the last couple weeks here, where we'll obviously then be able to prepare in a really good way to make sure we maximize our training camp and how we're going to do that. A lot of new members of our team. Obviously, welcome back Dalton Reisner last Friday, and then getting Jets back today. Felt like, as I've been feeling for much of the spring, it felt like it's a really complete team we've put together, KOC and his staff. Feel like we're really building something. I know the guys attack every single day with a kind of urgency and energy that's really good to see. You feel confidence from this group. So we'll continue to build on that. And in addition to that, I know, I spoke a little earlier today, but just to echo those comments about the importance of Justin Jefferson to me as the head coach of this team, our entire coaching staff, his teammates, and just our, organization as a whole. This was a really cool day to be a part of, and one, quite frankly, that we've been very much looking forward to for a long time. So very happy for Justin and his family. He got off to a great start today.
What was the value of getting that deal done now so you could be here for mandatory?
Yeah, I think it just provides clarity for everyone. Gives us 3 really good days. How we're structuring these days, albeit a week early this year. We're structuring it in a way where we can truly maximize the complete time allotted and really get the most out of it. So they're going to be not only really beneficial work for our whole team, but with Justin, joining the team this week, it gives him some great days to really gain some momentum, albeit in a short off season with the team. But it's clear looking at him today, he's in great shape. He's dialed in, picked up right where he left off, and now he can feel that much more smooth about how he'll prepare and then enter training camp come the fall.
But for you to get him in here, just knowing you have new quarterbacks, I guess how much of a bonus is that to have him and have that deal done so that he is here?
Yeah, I think it's, the pitch and catch factor will always be part of playing our game. You can have a bunch of lines on a sheet of paper. You can run it against every coverage known to man and feel good about kind of the what and the why, but you still got to have that how and that feel between player to player. And we get a lot of time between now and training camp to really attack it on a daily basis, make sure our installs are in alignment with the learning process for not only the quarterbacks but our whole team. This is year 3 in this system for some guys, years 2 or year 1 for others, and where we're at, we're really applying some new principles. We're building upon things we've done before, trying to recreate what we've been able to do, which is have success, but just be more consistent, have a few more layers to our offense, especially with some added personnel like an Aaron Jones, and the growth and development of the rest of the guys out there alongside the quarterbacks who are having a really good spring.
What do you envision from Justin as a leadership standpoint this season?
Yeah, I think picking up where he left off, Dave, just the idea of it was important to him last year to be voted a captain by his teammates. It was important for him to handle the adversity that none of us could have seen coming that he went through last year. And the way he handled it, the work he put in, and then ultimately the way he hit the field and immediately produced and led when he was able to come back, I think served a huge message to the rest of his teammates, veteran guys, that he's a guy we can not only really count on, but he can be a guy that sets the entire tone of this organization. He's always been a competitor. He's always been a worker. Nobody works on the grass like Justin Jefferson. That's why I know when he's away from us, it's always hard on him, knowing that he's missing that time. And so to get him back out here and watch him immediately lock back in and go to work was great for our whole team.
You and Kwesi have been saying all along you knew it was going to happen, but what is the sense of relief right now that it is? There's got to be a sense of relief for both of you.
Yeah, I don't know as much relief, just because my thoughts the whole time were we would get this done, knowing the mindset and the urgency that we had on our side of things, and things like this take time. It's a unique thing. It's a unique contract for a unique player at this point in time in his career, and the timelines on things are always tricky, especially when you have voluntary off-season programs, the season end, and there's a little bit of time before it actually becomes the deadlines spur action type of mentality. But all in all, the communication, the dialogue, the respect from both sides was important, and I was really happy, in my observations of how things went, and then ultimately couldn't be more happy with the conclusion that we got to experience today.
I know you and Kwesi both said often that weren't going to trade him, weren't thinking about trading Justin, but did you ever feel compelled or obligated, given the amount of trade rumors that were out there, just to sort of reassure him or reassure the people around him or whoever that, no, we really aren't trying to trade you?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, because a lot of times we know, the integrity and the pillars of communication, the things we feel that are very true are happening in real time, not only amongst each other, but with the player involved, with the representation of the player involved. And there's a certain way we kind of do business. And so when you hear some things, a lot of things kind of come and go, and you chalk it up to what they are. But when, there's things that are just so far outside the realm of what's actually happening and taking place, you find yourself wanting to come out and say, which I will, unequivocally, we never ever one time discussed internally amongst the leadership. I don't know, some people have sources far and wide, but I would say amongst the leadership, amongst the decision makers, the people that are directly involved with the situation, there really was not one time that was ever discussed, game planned, contingency planned. And I think that's really important, because it's not just about the result from today, Kevin. It's about the process at which we're pretty proud of, although timelines sometimes aren't on other people's lenses as far as whether it was productive or not. But I can tell you what got done with Justin Jefferson, how it got done, and then the type of team, locker room he walked back into today, coaching staff, and the excitement Justin had to be here today are all benefits from that process being what it was.
When it comes to just splitting up the reps with Sam taking the starters and developing JJ on the field, I guess how do you view that process through minicamp? Do you envision it being similar to that in training camp, or do you want to see where JJ is?
No, I think when you get to training camp, practices can be a little longer. You can really dissect and implement different phases, whether it's situational work, third down, red zone, 2-minute. You can have the early down work. You can have run emphasis periods. You can, cut the field in half and have half-line drills. You can really maximize those days and really put it together from a spectrum of the whole month of training camp. We're still in the learning phase, and I think that the improvement from day one to now, especially in certain aspects that we've really been focusing on, has been really apparent. Sam's had a great spring, really engaging with a new offense, new verbiage, new teammates, and every single day getting a lot out of it with production, but then also making sure mistakes aren't being made twice. There's a real emphasis on being dialed into the details of what we do, how we communicate, and then the feedback that they have for me or Josh or Wes or Grant that allow us to, coach at a higher level and make sure we're providing the clarity that we need to during the learning phase, because there's nothing more important than that initial first or second time you're going through the installs, where it can start to become a little bit more of your own second language in a lot of ways. And they're coming from either college football or different offenses in the NFL, where it might look and sound and feel the same, but that still doesn't replicate getting actually out here and getting to get reps within the rhythm and timing of how we talk about and execute plays.
What do you want to see out of Harry with a look at tight end, and what can best help him is if he does transition from receiver to tight end?
Yeah, I think anytime you're looking to transition a receiver the tight end position, and Nikhil is really fired up about it. He has attacked the process long before even we ever got started in the offseason program. But you're hoping to see the receiving traits kind of lead the way early on as they get a little bit more comfort in maybe having their hand down, being a part of run schemes, the different kind of run schemes that we're implementing. And Nikhil has shown that. His route ability, his ability to be explosive, contested catches, different variations where we're hoping we're really developing, even at this stage in his career. A position change is always unique, but we're hoping we're developing a guy that can grow into a real third down weapon, red zone weapon with his skill set, and then the more and more he can do from an all-down standpoint will only help his value as we continue to really put together that tight end group, knowing that TJ is along that recovery process and doing a great job with it. But we're going to have a lot of reps. We're going to have those guys be able to battle it out for those roles, especially early in the season.
Did you have to remind the DBs to go easy at the end of plays or anything like that, or has everyone got the message go into the breakout?
Yeah, we've done a great job kind of handling it is a unique time of year where you're truly not as competitive as we'll be when training camp begins, when we can have pads on and the guardian caps and everything. So we have a mantra of taking care of each other around here. We've still had a very competitive spring for it being the learning phase, especially in the passing game, in those 7-on-7 periods. But no, there's still a few days to go, so I don't want to celebrate too early. But it's been a very productive spring, and we've been able to keep our guys coming back out there every day and working.
TJ, where is he at in his recovery process, and is there do you guys have any more of a timetable on?
Yeah, I really don't, Ben. As all I can tell you is he's on schedule. He's had great checkups with his docs. Tyler and the staff are doing a really good job with him. It is part of the grind process of that rehab at this point, where he's been able to really develop certain aspects of his movement and strength and those things, but it's still the day-to-day and just trying to make sure we win today's day to be a little bit better tomorrow, and we'll kind of keep you guys updated as we get into training camp. They're with the rules the way they are now, with the ability to designate guys for return, that you can find ways to get guys out practicing with the team and on a timeline that might have been different in years past when you would have used the physically unable to perform list. So we'll keep you guys updated on how that'll go. I can just say between really it's TJ and Van Ginkel at this point, we're very pleased with where they're at. They've pretty much been 100% participation, even in a camp where they can't fully actively participate in every rep. It's been huge, I know, from the doctors and from our training staff standpoint, their commitment to being here to do that.
Last two. How do you view just the left guard situation now with Reiser coming back?
Yep.
And, obviously, you guys have spoken highly of Blake Randall as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things we really wanted to do and part of the process with the timing of things, and once again, maintaining a ton of dialogue with Dalton. Very thankful and really thought Dalton did a lot of good things when he got here last year. But at the same time, Blake has been a guy, really, since he's gotten here, has been asked to really be ready to play 2 or 3 different spots at one time. So our challenge to Blake was really embrace that left guard spot through the spring, really get the teaching and the mastery of your craft at one spot, which he really hasn't been able to do since he's been a Minnesota Viking. And we've seen the gains off that between not only Blake, but his fit amongst those 5 offensive linemen. And then there was a purpose and a plan of bringing Dalton back to create a very competitive situation at that left guard spot. We want to play the best 5 guys we can. Could see a bunch of different combinations of guys in there, especially as we try to allow that competition to naturally kind of play out in a way where this time we have training camp. It's not mid-season. It's not 4 or 5 weeks into the season, whenever it was last year. Dalton's got a year in the system under his belt. He's a veteran player. He came in great shape, ready to roll. So I feel really good between, really that position, bringing in a guy like Feeney to be another interior piece, and then you got Quest back, which was huge for me at that veteran swing spot to go along with 2 rookies and some CFA types that we feel like can really push and make that at the first, second, third groups of that offensive line really competitive. Because that's one thing we really wanted to have an emphasis on this year was it's not just about those 5 guys that are out there, it's the depth, and then it's the development of guys that are on the practice squad. Can we rely on them to continue to have kind of an arrow up mindset to push people, not only next year but the following year? Because when you're having to reinvent that room every single year, it can be difficult from a continuity standpoint, and feeling like you've got, you'd love to have a farm system in that offensive line room. And we feel really good about kind of the group that got put together.
Last one. Jordan Hicks gone, where are you looking with the green dot on defense, and who are the candidates there?
I think you're seeing a little bit with IP, and IP for a guy, it's still remarkable, even where he's at right now, to think that this is just his second year. He's had a very good spring, just the type of communication Flo is putting on his plate. We also want to have Blake Cashman and Kamu be ready to handle some of that green dot work. BA has done it a little bit in the past, so you look at those 4 guys and some of the down-the-line young guys we have. We got Abe back as well. The depth of that room, just the versatility, and that's when you continue to say, man, we're versatile in that room, but we also have Josh Metellus, Cam Bynum, Harrison Smith, Theo, Lou, all these guys that are really interchangeable, Jay Ward, to possibly play in those dime groupings, nickel groupings when they can go inside. So it's really unique, and I think Flo, if he prefers it one way, it's the type of depth we now have. Love some of the additions, the energy, the fit of some of the guys we really featured to go after in free agency. And once again, it's very, very hard to project based upon the learning phase of how we do things here. But I can tell you I leave here every day excited about what that group looks like and more importantly, what it can become, once we get through August.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
N'Keal Harry to tight end, you say? We'll chat about that with Alec Lewis of The Athletic about 30 minutes from now. But around the corner, PFT. Yeah, it's KFAN. Here comes Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com and NBC's Football Night in America. Also the author of the book called A Father of Mine. And Mr. Florio joins us now. Justin Jefferson, Michael, he's signed, sealed, and delivered. Now all bets are settled here, and minicamp day 2 is 2.5 hours from now. It's done. MJ Florio, what'd you think of the mega deal? And good morning.
I think the Vikings got out of it a lot cheaper than I believed they would. $35 million per year, new money average, was on the low end of what I thought it would be. I thought it would be as high as $38 or $39 million per year in new money. Mm-hmm. I thought the first 3 years would be fully guaranteed at signing. They essentially are. 4 years, as a practical matter, are guaranteed at least half of that 4th year and likely all of that 4th year. So good deal for the Vikings, better than it could have been. And, one of the things I heard over the weekend, because I knew this was coming on Monday, and one of the things I heard was before the draft, the Vikings had no urgency whatsoever. It wasn't until after the draft that they really focused on getting this done, and all that potentially implies. And I know that they're going to say now, and I don't want to call them liars because there are certain things you just have to say. They're going to say now they never considered life without Justin Jefferson. They never considered trading him, and it may be a matter of semantics. I think you're not doing your job if you don't consider the broader realities of what are our options beyond paying this guy that kind of money and putting that many eggs in one basket. Do we have other options? Will someone make us a Herschel Walker type of an offer? After the draft, though, when it was clear that the two sides were going to stay together, that's when Minnesota accelerated the process and got the deal done. And they got to a good place, and they got it cheaper than it could have been, because I really thought when we accepted that the target was Nick Bosa's $34 million per year in new money as the highest paid non-quarterback, to only push that by $1 million, and I say only, but still, I thought it would go higher than that because the cap's gone up. The market at receiver has moved closer and closer to 34. I thought it would be 36, 37, 38. So that was a bonus for the Vikings. And, they get a guy who's never been a problem, never been a pain in the ass, prime of his career, and is going to go a long way toward making J.J. McCarthy look a lot better at quarterback.
And to say that myriad teams did not contact the Vikings attempting to trade for Justin Jefferson, I think would be foolhardy. In fact, I think it's been reported that
I don't
many
know
teams,
that it was myriad. I know that there were teams that would have given up 2 first-round picks. The question is, did anybody ever put anything on the table that absolutely blew them away? And obviously the answer is no, because if that had happened, it would have been a much more serious consideration. But teams were definitely kicking the tires to see if there was a way to pry him away. And you have to be willing to make the major commitment to the Vikings, and you have to be willing to make the financial commitment. At some point, you just realize, as the Vikings, if there are teams out there that are willing to give up multiple first-round picks and pay the guy what he wants, let's just pay the guy what he wants.
Yeah, and what I was getting at, myriad or not, I mean, a couple, a few, a handful, whatever.
Five, I think, is the over-under.
Is that like, with that Malik Neighbors nugget? It's like the conversation between the two, if indeed it did happen, they're semantics. I mean, there could just be something shared from this side that somebody gets a hold of and they amplify it. You know what I'm saying there?
Well, let me tell you something, and let me be as clear about this as I can. I've been doing this 23 years, and there are certain circumstances where too many people are hearing something for all of them to be making it up. Too many people were hearing about the Vikings trying to get up to number 5 to get Neighbors. Now, I had never heard that would mean a trade of Justin Jefferson on the back end. I know when the Pioneer Press put their bid out and buried it as item 12 out of 15 on a Sunday column, that it was if Neighbors had been the pick at 5 by the Vikings with a trade up to Jim Harbaugh's Chargers, then Jefferson would have been traded. I never heard that part. All I know is as the draft was happening that night, Chargers steam coming to me was Vikings tried to get to 5 and Harbaugh held firm despite disagreement in the draft room in L.A. about whether or not they should have taken the offer, whatever the offer was. So would it have been Neighbors, Jefferson, and Jordan Addison for a year? I do not know. I don't know how it would have played out after that. I don't know who the quarterback would have been. I don't know if they would have tried to swing back in using Jefferson as bait to try to get J.J. McCarthy. I don't know. But too many people that I know have heard independently the same thing. At a certain point, that cannot be ignored. And I know the beat writers want to piss on that, pardon my language, but it ain't my fault you weren't doing your work. We were doing our work, and people were hearing this, and that's the reality. And there's no reason for the Vikings to give any credence to that now. They're not going to rain on their own parade, but that's just the way things work in this business. And too many people were hearing the Neighbors thing for it to be something that somebody pulled out of their butt.
Justin's maturity through this entire process, I felt was I thought it came shining through. I mean, he's AD. He's the anti-Diggs. It's like no unfollowing of teams on social media, no cryptic tweets, nary a peep from the young man during the contractual process. That right there is a model for superstars to follow, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Look at the 3 receivers the Vikings have traded this century. Randy Moss, pain in the butt from time to time. Percy Harvin, pain in the butt from time to time. Stephon Diggs, as much as I love him, pain in the butt from time to time. So you get a guy that's never had a problem, never been an issue. And one of the things I wrote back in February, after we sat with him for 15 minutes at the Super Bowl and talked to Justin Jefferson before, during, and after the interview, my big takeaway was this guy's patient, but patience has its limits. And at some point, and this was my narrative before, and it's so funny when, I wasn't trying to get the Vikings to trade him. My point was very simple. Pay the guy or trade him to someone who will. This sitting and waiting isn't good for anybody, and it only makes it more expensive. Whatever the Vikings gave him this week was surely more than whatever they wanted to give him last year, and probably more than what he wanted last year, because once that cap went up, what was it, 13.6%, 15.6%, something like that. Once the cap changes, once the market resets, the number goes up. And it would have been less than 35 last year. I think they were dismayed last year because he turned down a deal with a new money average of 30. Well, smart for him to do it, because now he got it to 35.
Any chance the NFL world is sleeping on the old Minnesota Vikings and like they cut loose and win the division?
We did a draft today of the best young core of offensive players, and I made the Vikings one of my picks. When you look at Addison and Jefferson and J.J. McCarthy, who, you put a young quarterback in an offense that has Kevin O'Connell drawing up the plays and calling the plays, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, if and when he's healthy, N'Keal Harry moved to tight end, which I think is kind of an intriguing development, and I'll be interested to see how it plays out. It's probably last ditch for his NFL career, but still, that kind of caught my eye when I saw that come through yesterday. So I think there's a lot there. And then you throw in Aaron Jones. Good God. I mean, he's still got tread on the tire. He was great last year. He was injured and missed a lot of games. And at the end of the day, I know when he said after the season that the future's bright for the Packers and he can't wait to see what happens. And I remember you're going to be seeing what happens from a different team, because they're not going to pay you whatever he was due to make, like $12 million, when he only played in 10 games last year. But when he played, I mean, he was phenomenal in that playoff win over the Cowboys. So there's a chance for that offense to be really, really good this year. And it's always better to have no expectations. It's always better to be a team that's overlooked and disregarded and disrespected. It's so much easier to, number one, keep your guys from having a big head, and number two, ensure they have a chip on their shoulder, wire to wire, and the Vikings are in that kind of zone this year where they can do that.
And Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com. There's a juicy one at PFT right now. I read it about an hour ago. The Cowboys have had mandatory minicamp, and stud pass rusher Micah Parsons and new defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer barely are speaking. I mean, how about the potential drama unfolding down there, Mr. PFT?
Well, it's not that they are ignoring each other. It's that Micah hasn't been there. Micah hasn't talked to him. Now, some would say probably a good idea to reach out to a generational talent and talk to him and begin the process of getting on the same page. But Zimmer does things his way, and Parsons flat out said, I like to do things my way, and they need to reach a compromise. And I think they need to come together, and I think Zimmer will understand, because one of the things he explained to me years ago, back when he would actually talk to me, was that, his dad was a high school coach, and every year there was a different offense and a different defense because you had different players. So you fine-tune your systems to adapt to what you have. And once he sees what Micah Parsons can do, once he's standing there field level and sees him blazing around the edge and thinks about what he can do in that defense, I think there'll be some flexibility. But it would be foolish not to get on the same page with Micah Parsons. And there was some reporting out of Dallas a couple of months back about how Parsons' act is wearing thin on the team. My take in response to that is, well, you better change your way of viewing Micah Parsons, because when you have a player that good, nothing should wear thin. You should be happy to have whatever distraction goes along with it when you have a player that good. And they need to get this guy paid. They just continue to bungle paying or not paying the right young players, and they pay the wrong ones and don't pay the right ones, and they've got a mess right now. Parsons should refuse to play until he gets a new deal, and I don't know when he's going to get a new deal, because they got to figure out Dak's situation. They got to figure out CeeDee Lamb's situation too.
Lastly, 3 minutes, you get it all. The Mike Florio PFT.
What if I don't want it all?
Then I'll take the rest. Right. The new kickoff setup fascinates me, man. Now that we got minicamp going on here, and we're chatting with different people and more people, and you chat with a ton of people, it fascinates me because of all the confusion that I sense it's causing. I mean, coaches, and I'm not going to say they're throwing darts, but until they see it and actually live it, whether it's line drives or body types of returners and stuff, until they can figure out what to do, it's just super confusing. What do you think?
Hey, Paul, this is the biggest change that the NFL has made in one fell swoop since, at a minimum, 1994, when they adopted the two-point conversion, maybe 74, when in the same offseason they moved the goalpost from the goal line back to the end line, because, not the safest thing in the world to have this giant steel pole that guys could run into. And that same year they added overtime for regular season games. That was a pretty significant change in 74. The other big changes have been evolutionary, like the changes to the passing game and the tweaks to replay review. This kickoff formation thing is huge. It's massive, and it's one fell swoop, and nobody knows what's going to happen. There are so many wrinkles and layers and levels, from who do you use to place the ball between the 20 and the goal line in the landing zone? Do you try to get a kicker who's going to make the return specialist not get to the ball because you can start moving because everyone's frozen in place like an electric football game? The little kid doesn't flip the switch until the ball is either caught or strikes the ground. What do you do by way of setting up a return? What do you do by way of setting up an effort to tackle the guy? Because you got one line of players. Guy gets through, and I've been using your line, and he's loose. And then the kicker's the only guy to beat. Do you use a position player so he can go make the tackle? I had a prediction earlier today on PFT Live. By the trade deadline, 2 days after Week 9 this year, not Week 8, but 2 days after Week 9 because they moved it back a week. By that point of the season, I predict at least half of the teams will have said, screw it, let's bang it out of the end zone and concede the 30-yard line. I'm not going to have my coaching career hinge on being a guinea pig for this new experiment on what we're going to do with the kick return, because too many of these balls are going to get taken to the house.
And the interesting thing, I think, is that, it's best to test in preseason games, but nobody ever wants to show what's best while testing in preseason games. You know what I mean?
Oh, I've thought about that too. Like, somebody's going to come out and they're going to handle it a certain way, and then Week 1 rolls around and they're going to do it completely differently. And they're constantly going to be looking and changing. And, there's this obsession with analytics now. There's no analytics on this. You've got the XFL stuff, but it was different because the ball couldn't be, or the players couldn't move until the ball was touched. Hitting the ground wasn't a factor. So it's not really apples to apples, and it's a very limited sample size, and it's a lower level of football. I remember last year, because we were the first, not that I'm looking to get any credit, I really don't care, but we were the first ones to say the NFL was seriously considering taking over this XFL model. And when I had heard about that, there were coaches who said to me, this is going to be a mess, because NFL quality return specialists, when you put the best of the best, the most elusive, the most explosive back there, they are going to blow through that line and they are going to be gone. And it is going to be a disaster. And we may end up right where we were, where no one is getting any returns because everyone's saying, let's just let the drive start at the 30 instead of the 25. And they, when they originally designed this thing, Paul, it was going to be the 35 if you kicked it out of the end zone. They moved it to the 30 at the league meetings before they voted on it. I think they're going to wish they'd kept it at the 35, because once teams recognize how this can be basically Russian roulette for them by kicking that ball off, they're just going to say, let's get it out of the end zone and we'll give them the 30 and we'll go play defense.
Thanks for the time, my brother. Have a good day.
See you, Paul.
Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com. Alec Lewis of The Athletic and TheAthletic.com, one of those beat writers. Mike just requested do a better job with his job. He joins 9 to noon around the corner from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center on your home for mandatory minicamp radio, FM 100.3, KFAN.